organizing this session. My name is Varda, and I am studying my master's in the UK. I'm not going to Oxford or Cambridge, but I'm here to help you with whatever I can. I did get a funding to study my master's, and I think that maybe whatever little I've learned through the an entire year of application process might also be helpful for other people my age. So that's what we'll be doing here. Please feel free to just hop in if you have any questions. Just unmute your mic and feel free to interrupt me. I think it should be more like a conversation than just a talk. So yeah, the floor is open. I'd say, and yeah, let's just quickly go. So we're going to be talking about securing a funded master's degree in the UK. I am going to be sharing generic information so that it's applicable to almost all subjects. And of course, eventually, if we stay in touch, we can get, we can discuss subject-specific details as well for people who are interested in human rights or law. Yes, so this is about the audience. I will kind of assume this about the audience that it might fall into one of these categories. So you are probably somebody who has finished their bachelor's degree and are looking to apply for a master's degree, or you are about to finish your bachelor's degree and you are ahead of time and you have time, so you're thinking, okay, let's just prepare in advance so that I'm better prepared than other candidates perhaps. Yeah, the third category would be people who have completed their bachelor's as well as their master's but want to go for a second master's. And the fourth category is people who have just started their bachelor's degree. So I'll address all of them, and I'll just say that this is more for people who have actually finished their bachelor's, because it is a part of the eligibility criteria for a lot of scholarships that you should have your degree in hand at the time of the application. So, yeah. But even if you fall into the last two categories, let's say, you're still welcome to listen and take notes and prepare in advance for when your time comes, so that you're better prepared and everything. Yes. So you might ask, I mean, well, a lot of people don't ask because a lot of people do want to apply to scholarships abroad and masters abroad. But there are some reasons that I'd say that you should apply if you weren't so far considering to apply. Firstly, I have realized that compared to a lot of degrees that I explored in India, which I'd have done if I did not get in this one, the course structure and the quality of education is obviously much, much higher when it comes to the UK compared to India, and especially for people in law, because India derives its law from. It's much more relatable to study law here in the UK than to study it in Canada or America or Australia. Students who have studied law in India end up applying to LLMs and advanced degrees in the UK. Well, up to date, they talk about current. They are actually really passionate. The traditional institutions that I have been to, where I realized that that was not the case for a lot of my professors or for a lot of people who taught me. So that is something that is much, much better over here. And as for my course, my professors are both basically doing their own research as well, and running this course too. So, of course, they're really passionate about what they're doing, and they really know what they're doing as well. So that's really great. And because Firasha asked me why did I take this particular course. Uh, Actually, I applied to a lot of courses, and I wanted to do an LLM because I had just completed my 5-year BA LLB. Um, and the only thing for me that's sort of was a hurdle was the finances. I did get into LLMs, the ones that I wanted to go to, but I did not receive funding for those specific courses. But this was one of the courses that I ended up getting funded to, and it wasn't even my preferred course. So the course that I preferred was an LLM. But yeah, because I received funding for this, I thought I might as well just go for it. You can't really miss opportunities of this sort. And then, of course, it had um, so the institute's name was the Institute of Commonwealth Studies. So of course I was interested, and my course is human rights. So it completely aligned with what I wanted to do. So even if I had gone for an LLM, I would go for an LLM with a specialization in human rights. So I thought, at master's level, it doesn't really matter. The LLM and the MA are pretty much similar. It's just the name of degrees are different, and because in human rights, the law that you study in an LLM is kind of very similar to the law that you anyway study in an MA. And there were a lot of interesting things about this course. For example, it really emphasized on the idea of teaching practice alongside theory. So for example, for human rights, practice includes the skill of fundraising, the skill of campaigning, advertising your cause, framing your cause, things like that. So what they do in this course is they actually make us do all of those things in real life apart from the theory that they teach us. So it's really practical, and you get to learn a lot of skills that you can apply in the future in your career. And it's a very small course. It's a very small university. It's actually a research institute. Uh, so even though my degree is not a research degree, it's not a master's in research. It's a master's in arts. It still is very research intensive, I would say. Uh, and There's only 5 or 6 students in my class, so we get to really interact with the professor one on one. That is one thing that's really special about this degree. So we don't have lectures, we have seminars, and we just sit and discuss and talk with the professor after he's done teaching us. And it's very intimate. It's very different from how we are taught back in India. And yeah, so it's a different learning experience, I would say. And yeah, and I'd say apply, because opportunities in a city like this or in a country like this where you get so much exposure are always going to be much much better. London specifically, it's the center of pretty much everything, and a lot of international human rights organizations, they have their um, headquarters in the city, and a lot of people from my course end up interning or working for one of these human rights organizations, either Amnesty or Refugee Law Initiative, or HRF, and a lot of these organizations have ties with the university, and they send students there. One of the other reasons I've written is diversity. So your class is going to be a cohort of a lot of very different people coming from very different backgrounds and different cultures. So that's one thing that's really worth the experience of coming all the way here to study, because you actually learn more outside the class than in the class. You actually end up learning more about the world and even your subject after the class when you talk to your fellow students. So yeah, diversity is one of the things that I'm really liking here so far. And yeah, and the extracurricular experiences. So universities here are very active with curricular experiences. So there's all sorts of clubs and societies. Like the other day I went to the freshers week, so there was ice hockey and judo and archery, horse riding, things like that, and you can always explore those avenues as well. So I think you should apply, and you should give it a shot if you were not considering so far. And yeah, I hope I answered, Firasha, your question. If there's anything else about the course that you want to ask, please feel free to. And anybody else is welcome to do that as well. Um, Yeah, so let's move on. How to look out for opportunities. Um, so one thing that has really helped me is I was anyway using my screen a lot. I'm anyway on my phone a lot of time. The only thing I did was I changed it into productive time by scrolling through LinkedIn or Facebook groups that where opportunities are shared, joining WhatsApp groups where opportunities are shared, and following people who are in my field. And because they end up posting a lot of opportunities that are related to me. And yeah, just collecting that information, gathering that information, organizing it in a manner where it is actually useful for me. So what ends up happening is, even if you do come across an opportunity, you copy paste the link, you keep it in your notes, and then you end up forgetting about it. And by the time you get back to it, even if you do, it's too late already to apply. So that was the case for me as well. But I kind of changed it by sort of organizing everything in my Google Calendar, and marking the deadlines, and following up, and being accountable to myself as well, as to whether I did follow up or not. One app that really helps me is the Microsoft To Do app. So you can just place it on your home screen and then keep going back to the to do list, if you're not a pen and paper person. Otherwise, it's always rather good to have a pen and paper on your bedside, to have a to do, in fact. Yeah, so just follow the people who are in your field, and who are doing the exact same things as you do. I think I know about 5 people who have the same career paths that I I think that I would want to take, if I can say so. So, for example, there were people who went to the same university that I wanted to go to, and then ended up doing their PhDs, sort of in the same areas where I would like to have done it as well. So I'm not saying that I know for sure for now, but obviously it changes over time, and you learn a lot over time, and you might end up doing something different from what you had thought you would do. But it's still a nice idea to to have certain paths that you're taking and know where you're going, and at least have a broader idea of the theme that you want to study. Yeah, so I think what you can do is you can yeah, just scroll through LinkedIn and find groups that are sharing opportunities, or people that are sharing opportunities in your area. And yeah, let's talk about M Space now. So me and Hamad and Faiz, Munaza, we were a couple of people from different universities who have started this WhatsApp group. But it was started by them, but eventually we joined as well. So it's this group called M Space, which basically means Muslim space. Um, uh, and it's a WhatsApp group for now, but it's basically supposed to be a platform where we share education opportunities, and job opportunities, or other scholarships and fellowships, and eventually also hold sessions for capacity building and skill training, things like that, and improve the general atmosphere around here, and get everybody connected. So one of the main purposes was also to get Indian Muslims to network, which is something that we realized was really important during the CAA movement, that there was not one platform where all Muslim students throughout India could connect. So it's in its fetal stage for now, but we are growing very slowly, but we are growing. And a lot of times it takes me by surprise when somebody from a place that I haven't heard of, or an institution that I haven't heard of, which is remote, and quite unknown, somebody from that place joins, and they're able to find all these opportunities in one place. It's really good for them as well as us, and we've received really good feedback so far. It's an open group. It's for Muslim students, and you are welcome to join it. I will share the link with you after the meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks. Is there any question so far? I'm sorry. I just take
Yeah,
some
some people
water.
have put in the chat box. The thing is, like right now, if you want, Vardha, you can like, ऐसा बीच बीच में you can answer the questions in the chat box. Like audio, like opening mic, and that we'll do once you're done with your presentation. You know, just so the flow is
Okay.
maintained.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Let me see the Q&A. Oh, that's not here. Sorry, where do I get the
Sorry,
questions
it's in the
and
chat. It's in the chat box.
yeah, okay, got them. Um, Uruj Hussain is asking what is the duration of this course. Walaikum Assalam. So most master's programs in the UK are 1 year programs, and some are 2 years as well. But yeah, mostly they're 1 year programs. So mine is also a 1 year program. Um, how to apply for PhD? I do not know. I recently graduated and I came for masters and have absolutely no idea about how to apply to PhD. But there are a lot of people that might be able to help you. There's this organization called Project Edu Access that is working really hard, and there's a lot of people working on it for for creating mentorship pairs, and they're helping people to apply to different universities across the world. So my experience is very limited because I only applied to the UK. I only applied to a specific type of course, a specific subject, and a very few number of scholarships. So I won't be able to advise you regarding PhD in the UK. But follow the general, I think, pathway. Talk to professors, see if they're interested in having you, and maybe then look for funding. But yeah, I think you might be able to find somebody at Project Edu Access that might be that who can help you with the PhD question. Um, yes, so they do have MScs for subjects in humanities. Um, how do I explain? So it is, I think, they use more technical methodologies. For example, they also use quantitative research mechanisms, and they use statistics and all of that. So it becomes an MSc that way, um, if I'm not wrong. But yeah, they have MScs, and it holds equal footing as an MA. So it's fine. You can take an MSc as well. A lot of people do. Uh, as a final year BLLB student, okay, I relate to this because I was also a BLLB student, and I was very specific. I just wanted to apply to LLMs because I thought, that is the only option for me after an LLB. But I was wrong. You can actually take MA courses as well. Like I said, after you've done your BLLB, because you've already studied a 5 year undergraduate course in law and you've studied pure law, it is completely fine to take an MA program because you are already very aware of the law part. You can go and study the humanities part and add up to your skills and knowledge. What was my CGPA? Very personal question. I don't think I'll answer that, but it wasn't great, I'd say. It wasn't great. It was very average. I'm a very average student. I think the last time I was a good student was probably in eighth grade. But ever since, I've just had a constant decline. And so, yeah, in terms of CGPA, no, I did not have a great CGPA. But thanks to my professor who basically selected me for this course, he said that uh, he mitigated my CGPA in a way to and made room for my human rights experience and allowed me to get the degree, even though my CGPA did not fall in the eligibility criteria. So always talk to people, always ask them if there are any, if if you can, if they can mitigate these things for you. Um, I hope that answers that question. I think let's take the rest of these later because
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, of
because
course.
we'll get late. But
Yeah.
I will take these questions. It's not a problem.
Yes.
Um, okay, so let's go here. Now that I've talked about how to look out for opportunities, you know how to go to all of these pages, you know how to collect information, you know how to organize it. Now what to do next? So next is your application. So the first thing you would do after you know that now I want to apply, okay, I've decided I want to apply, I want to do a master's in falana country, or I want to do falana course. You have to identify your colleges and courses. So yeah, that's the first step in the process, of course. How to do this? You have to use Google search. You have to go to all of the university and college pages. You have to take out the list of their courses and see what all courses you might be interested in. So do a basic search at first, and take out a list of courses, and then maybe check which of these courses are you more interested in than the others, and then get into those courses, get into all of the information that is present about that course on the page, and see what you like about it, because all of the modules are already on display on websites. And you just have to sort of see what is of interest to you particularly. Mm, so, for example, when I was applying for LLM, I wanted to do human rights, but there was a lot of human rights courses. And I also was interested in refugee law. So, that also is a part of human rights. So, I was confused which of the courses to apply to. So, kind of went into the details of each and every course and realized that there might be courses, some of these courses which are offering more than the others, which are offering a more diverse module structure than the others. So yeah, get into it. Get comfortable with Google search, and just yeah, keep collecting information, and you'll eventually find out what courses are of interest to you. But yeah, that's only the first step of the process. So you have to identify your colleges and the courses that you want to apply to. So once you've done that, you have a list of courses. Let's say you have 8 universities, that is 8 courses, or 8 universities and 2 courses in each university that you want to apply to, depending on how much capacity and time you have, because applications do take time, and you will have to craft each application in a way that is specific to that course. Otherwise, generic applications won't work very well with the evaluators. You have to show them that it is their course, it is that particular course that you're actually really interested in, even if it might not be your first preference. um, yeah, it's like finding a job, and at every job interview you tell them how much that is the only job that you've ever wanted. But yeah, and then when you have your preferred colleges and courses, you have to look for funding opportunities. So how do we do that? Okay, so um, so there's internal funding as well as external funding. Internal funding is the funding that your college provides. Sometimes these are full funded scholarships, sometimes they just waive off your tuition fee. Sometimes they just waive off a part of your tuition fee. So depending on the kind of financing that you can do yourself, you can get one of these scholarships. So a lot of students that go from here, who are self-funded, they apply to partial scholarships, and these are much easier to get as well. There are a lot of scholarships. There's a lot of scholarships provided by a lot of colleges, so it's yeah, but then again, even if you take partial funding, and the course is still extremely expensive. So the difference between the fee that UK students have to pay for a course in the UK, versus the fee that international students have to pay in the UK, there's, I think, it's 2 to 3 times more than the local students. So it's really expensive. I think for all the courses, uh, the minimum that I've seen is ranging from 20,000 pounds to I've even seen 40,000 pounds. So yeah, and that's just tuition fee, and you need a minimum of 13 to 1400 pounds just to be able to survive here every month. So it's an expensive endeavor, and I wouldn't suggest anybody to um, come all the way here spending all that money for a master's degree when you can actually get it back in India as well. But if you're getting a funding, it's always well and good. um, Yes. So, how to look for internal and external funding opportunities? I have this example open for you. So, what you do is that, for example, you want to apply to SOAS and you know what course to apply to. You have gone through the course list, you have decided your courses, but okay. No, this is embarrassing. It's not working. It does. All right. So, is my screen visible?
Yes, yes, it is visible.
Okay. So, yeah, so this is how you find a course. You just open your university's website and you find a course. Now you go to the fee and funding page and you go to the scholarship page, and you will eventually land up on a list of scholarships. So you can select, maybe, there's undergraduate scholarships here as well. Let's go to master's scholarships. So this is the list of all the master's scholarships provided at SOAS. So you just have to go and check which of these you are eligible for. So for example, let's see this one. So Felix scholarships, Indian students are eligible, and it also says somewhere here that it's fully funded. I think they've taken that section out now. But yeah, so any full-time taught masters. So all the courses are eligible, and all Indian students are eligible to apply to Felix scholarships. Yeah, so this is how you find out funding that is internal as well as external. Um, yeah, so that was an example. You might want to go to all of the universities that you're applying to, each of their pages, and check what funding is available with them. Uh, and the next thing, when once you've decided your colleges, you've decided what scholarships you're going to apply to, is to get your documents ready. So what are these documents? You require a passport. So yeah, you do, because you have to travel to another country, and the sad thing is they do want your passport uh, during your application as well. So when you start your application, you have to have a passport number. And I'm saying this because a lot of people I have been in touch with recently, they started their application and realized that they do not have a passport. And by the time they do get one, because it takes at least more than a month, I think, to get a passport, they won't and they will miss the deadline for the scholarship. So for people who don't have a passport, I would suggest go ahead, apply for it. You will need it eventually anyway, so, and it's a good thing to have. It's an identity card. So just go ahead and apply, and you will need it. uh, yeah, your degree and final transcript. So like I said, these scholarships expect you to have your degree in hand when you're applying. So a lot of students who have passed out, who are going to pass out this year, are not eligible to apply because they do not yet have their degree. They have one semester remaining, or at least a few months remaining for the degree to get over. So yeah, so I'm sorry, but you would not be eligible to apply. So you try to get your degree, and for people who have completed their masters, and they've completed all the components of the degree, they are eligible even if they do not have their degree in hand. So you can just get your final transcripts for all the semesters, and you can put them in the application and eventually send them a degree later. So the only requirement is that you should have completed all the components of your degree at the time of application. So it does not matter whether you have your degree in hand or not. As for me, I did not have my degree in hand. It took me some time to get it out. I was away from my university. So yeah, I sent it later. I just sent them my transcripts for all my semesters. The next thing you need is your referees and eventually their reference letters. So what that means is you have to have some people who can vouch for you in a way. So these have to be people who have taught you, ideally, a minimum of three, sometimes even five for scholarships like the Rhodes Scholarship, which asks you to give details of at least five referees. So that would be five professors who know you and who can write a reference letter for you. Um, yeah, so I think if you're applying this year, about it's about time that you talk to your professors who have taught you and who you have a rapport with to and get them, socialize them to this process that I'm going to ask you to write my reference letter. Can I give your name to do it? Don't commit the mistake that I did. So I assumed that this one professor, he's very nice, I'm sure that he's going to give me a reference. I wrote his name in my application. So in the first stage of the application, you just have to give their names, and you eventually have to give your reference letters after you're selected. So I gave his name, and I received the selection mail, and I was asked to provide my references. And guess what happened? The professor was he would just not pick up my call, and he was not in town. And yeah, I was in a bit of a mess because I wrote their name without asking them. So don't do that. Um, Always ask them in advance whether you can give out their name for references, and will they be able to provide that by a certain time. Yeah. Let's come to IELTS or TOEFL or things like that, just English language certification tests. Um, so these are not mandatory, I would say, but they sort of are mandatory in a sense, because a lot of the universities that you'll apply to, they'll ask you for English language certificate. So it's a good idea if you're able to give IELTS. It lasts for, I think, it has an expiry
2 years.
date that's due for 2 years. Yep.
Yes, yes.
So within 2 years you can use it. Otherwise you'll have to take it again, which makes no sense absolutely because you don't just
Yeah,
forget.
yeah, yeah. Yes,
But yeah, it's a
exactly.
money making. Um, but yeah, if you are able to and if you can fund it, I would suggest that you give the IELTS. For students of AMU who are on this call, I would say there's also another scholarship that AMU alumni provide. It's called the Sarsiat Global Scholarship or Excellence Award. I don't know, SSGSA. I'm sure you heard of it. If not, then you should check it out. They provide application fee and IELTS funding to students who want to apply to study abroad. So they don't fund your degree, but they fund your application process if they see any potential in you. So yeah, apply, and if they are able to provide IELTS funding to you, well and good. If not, then I would suggest give your IELTS, and it's going to be of use. Although I cannot say that it's mandatory because there are courses that might waive off your English language criteria. And the scholarship, as for the scholarships don't ask you for IELTS, at least in the UK. So it's the university application that you will need IELTS for. Next is your personal statement and CV. Okay, let's talk about the CV first because it's an essential document you have to have, and because personal statement is a large topic that I'm going to come to next. CV, you have to have a CV. You're doing your bachelor's. You anyway apply to internships or you know other things, and you're or about to complete it. You have to have a CV. There's no excuse for not having it. Make one. It's very easy. Take a pre-existing template from Google and fill in your details. Make it crisp and short, and um, and enumerate all of your experiences. I would say, even if they're not related to this particular course that you're applying to. So I wanted to apply to human rights, but I did a lot of things that were not human rights related as well. But I did write them in my CV. because in these universities they're looking for um, diverse interests and dynamic interests. They're looking for people who are not just stuck to their books. They're looking for people who are um, uh, who do different things, who explore different things. And it's a good idea to mention all of your experiences in your CV and make it look good. Don't have grammatical mistakes in it. There's a lot of CV building workshops that you can also join, um, and yeah, to figure out how to make a good CV. Now let's talk about the personal statement first. So personal statement and essays are two different things because we're talking about university applications as well as scholarship applications. So when you're applying for university applications, you will need a personal statement of about 1,000 words. Now, I will come to this in a moment as to how different it is from your essay. But it basically is a statement of, it's basically a story of why, who you are, and what do you want to study, why do you want to study this particular course. Um, yeah, and you have to basically write it within 1,000 words for most courses in the UK. So yeah, the personal statement has to be different depending on the course that you're applying to. So you can't use the same personal statement for, let's say, a policy course that you're using for a law course. So even though they're very similar, they have to have.
नहीं नहीं इसको बहुत मेहनत का जरूरत है
Please mute your. I request everyone to please mute their mics. Inshallah, at the end of the session, we will have Q&A. So you will be able to ask your questions and interact with the speaker.
Thanks. Yeah, so that's about the personal statement. We'll talk a bit more about the personal statement in a moment. Let's come to the application. All right, so now you have your documents, you have your degree, you have your passport, you even have an IELTS. But of course, IELTS is something you don't need immediately as you apply, um, because scholarship application deadlines come first and then university application comes. So don't miss your deadline just because you don't have an IELTS, because you can still apply without an IELTS. And when you apply to your university, you'll need the IELTS later in a few months. So in this period, you can get your IELTS certificate. Let's talk about the essays. So essays are basically the primary mode of evaluation of any of these scholarships that we're going to be talking about, like Shielding or Commonwealth Shared, Commonwealth Masters. So all these scholarships have different essays that you have to write for them. For Commonwealth Shared, there was about I think 11 to 12 questions that they asked, and you had to answer them in 100 or 200 words each. And there was a personal statement you had to write of 500 words. But for Shielding, you have to write 4 essays, and I'll come to the Shielding as an example. But in a generic manner, I can tell you that for most scholarships you have to write essays. Um, what are these essays going to be on? So I'll give the example of Shielding, but generally they're going to be about why you want to take this course and why should they select you. What is it in you or about you that uh, makes you, eligible or desirable for this university or course, and how can you better contribute to uh, the subject once you're here, and how can you contribute to the culture and the academics and everything over there. So yeah, you have to write your essays. Let's talk about um, reading other people's essays. So when I was applying, I really wanted to read other people's essays naturally, because I had no idea how to write these. And I really wanted to see that other people who did get selected, how did they get selected? What did they write in their application that made them, made their application stand out? Um, but one of my friends gave a really good advice. I asked her for her personal statement. She said that I am happy to give you my personal statement. But the thing is, once you read my personal statement, you will start judging your own personal statement through this particular lens only, in comparison just to my essay. So either you read a lot of essays, so many that you don't remember any of these, and you end up writing your own original one, or don't read any essay at all. Just write something nice and simple, and which is completely and originally yours. Um, in this day and age, I also have to warn you about AI. Don't use AI for anything. Just be original. Write your own thing. Write your own story, because the evaluators, they've been there for a while. They figure out whether it's you who has written it or not. So it's a good idea to be original about these things. Um, I mean, it's mandatory, but yeah. So once you are in the application, you have to write your first draft, and your first draft is going to be really shitty, and that's completely okay. So I'm sorry for my language. So, but yeah, I mean, write the worst essay possible as well, if you have to, and eventually you'll get better, because you get an application window of about 1 month, sometimes even more than more than 1 month, and you will eventually refine it. You will eventually make it better, beautify it, or way, where it's much more readable, much more coherent than your first draft. So your first draft, a lot of people said this to me when I was applying, that my first draft was not going to be anything like my final draft, and that's completely true, because you change, um, the you change almost everything about it when you look at it from a critical perspective, and by the time the application deadline is closed, you can be at least partially satisfied with what you have written. Of course, you're never going to be 100% satisfied. I wasn't. I always thought that my essays could be much better, and that was true. um, but yeah, it's a good idea to write the first draft however you want to, and then eventually refine it and keep refining it until the final deadline. Yeah, and get people to read your essay if possible. Get your friends to be critical about your essay. Get your family to be critical about your essay, and let them suggest you what what parts you can leave out, what parts you should let be, and that might also be of help. So get critical people, get your enemies to judge your essays, and yeah. So what are these things? Essays are your own work. I've already talked about that. They tell your story, so they tell who you are completely as a person. So, for example, let's talk about Firasha. So, who Firasha is, um, and what's her story so far. So, where does she come from, and what was her city like, maybe, and how did she grow up? What are the things that affected her? All of these things can be part of your essay. So, for example, for somebody, any experience of hate crime could have led them to do certain things in their life, or to take a particular educational pathway. And that's just an extreme example, but I'm just saying that there are events in your life that happen that really shape your thinking or understanding, or your future plans. So you can talk about those in your essays. You can start writing those, whatever your major experiences in life are. Um, but yeah, it has to be a story. It has to be readable. It has to be eye catching from the very first line, especially the very first line. So you have to catch these evaluators' attention when you're writing this. So yeah, it should be very readable. Um, let's talk about, yeah. So we have talked about other components of the application. So is there anything so far that let's just take more questions, I think, because I'm going on and on, and I'll lose your attention. I've answered this one. MSc or MA, you can take either, it's fine. MSc, MA, LLM, go for anything that you would like. future job prospects in the UK and EU. As you know, UK is in recession. There aren't any future job prospects anywhere for anyone. But yeah, um, I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's not how I look at anything at all. I mean, um, I for me, I just wanted to study human rights, and I wasn't really looking at it as a job prospect. But yeah, it would be a good idea to see what job prospects your area of interest holds. So, for example, somebody who wants to study IP law might want to see what are the new avenues in IP law that that are rising, or real estate law, or whatever laws, the competition and capital market, this that whatever you want to study. Um, and figure out, depending on so basically what happens when you come here on a scholarship is that you have to come back to your country after your scholarship period is over. So it is a mandatory requirement. They book your tickets and they send you back here. So there's no option to extend your visa and continue your vacation over here. So you have to anyway come back. So even if you want to work in the UK, you'll have to apply again for a sponsorship, which is a very difficult process. Not impossible, but very difficult. So unless you have worked here as a student and developed some rapport with the companies, and they're willing to offer you a sponsorship, even when you have gone back to India, or wherever you have come from, um, you have to have a sponsorship to work here. Uh, uh, yeah, so I think just look for your areas of interest and see what job prospects there are. I'm sorry, I wouldn't be able to advise more specifically on that. Um, yes, MSc. You're eligible to apply for an MSc. In fact, one of the most beautiful things about studying here is that you can actually change your entire majors. So even if you have studied, let's say, a very technical subject in your bachelor's, you can still go for humanities in your master's, and it's really nice. You can study whatever you want as long as you're able to justify in your scholarship, in your essays, that why are you considering doing that switch. Is 8 a good CGPA? I mean, yes, for a lot of courses, 8 is a really good CGPA. And CGPA shouldn't hold you back from applying. So sometimes it might be that people whose CGPA dropped during COVID, because of the obviously extenuating circumstances that there were, they can ask for the CGPA requirement to be mitigated, even in institutions like Oxford. So yeah, go for it. Try at least. We share master's programs, we share undergraduate programs in our groups, we share everything, Gulafsha, and we share scholarships and fellowship opportunities as well. So we share postdoctoral opportunities as well. So it's a very generic group. So whatever opportunities we uh, come across, we share it in the group, and everybody is welcome to share, these opportunities in the group. It works on a voluntary basis. So you basically have to volunteer to to be of help to everyone. So it's an open group, and everybody is welcome to share the opportunities that they come across. Can I add Islamic courses? Yes, you can. You can study, and actually, the UK has really good Islamic courses. Um, so even in SOAS, I think there's a course on Sharia law as well. So, but I'm not sure how good of a course that is. You'll have to do your own research. But there are courses. Uh, there are Islamic courses. Sakshi is asking, okay. I wanted to know what the application process is asking when they ask us to mention employment or jobs held. Is it referring to internships or other such things? So a lot of people apply to master's programs after they have had some work experience, after they've done their bachelor's. So they can mention those experiences. As for people who haven't worked really after their bachelor's, they can mention their internship experiences. So even if you don't have an employment that you or a job that you have held, you can still apply. But yeah, some scholarships do prefer to get candidates who have had some experience of working before they go for their masters. So even in my program, there's a diversity of people who have come, much later in their careers, because it's a practical course and it's for advocates, and it's for people who have been part of the legal industry for a while as well, to learn some practical skills. So there's a lot of courses that allow you both, either to join as soon as your bachelor's is over, or to work a bit and then come to do your master's. So I would say just these minor problems shouldn't stop you from applying. I think that it's always worth giving a chance. One of the mistakes that I committed was I wasn't ready to apply into the masters, the course that I have been selected in, because I was just so specific. I just wanted to do an LLM, and it ended up happening that I did not even receive funding for the LLM courses that I applied to, but I got funding for this. So I think nothing of that sort should stop you from applying. You should always give it a chance. Let's go back here. All right. Um, so, how do you stay organized? Um, you have to save your work in an organized manner. Don't lose your work. I have known people who have written entire things and then just lost them because of a technical glitch or anything, and then they were not left with any motivation to apply. So don't do that. Keep all your work on your cloud, and things like Google Drive. Use Google Calendar a lot. I have been emphasizing on this a lot because it's really helping me, and I'm a really unorganized person, and I keep missing deadlines all the time. So now I'm using Google Calendar, and it's been of help. I mean, I've been using it for a couple of years now. Um, Mark everything in your calendar, and Google will keep reminding you of deadlines. So after the meeting is over, and if you are ready to apply, do one thing I'd say is to um, see what courses are, what the deadlines are, and mark them all in your calendar, so that at least you have this timeline of set goals and what to do before the application. So yeah, do that. I use to-do lists, and break tasks chunk by chunk, because the application period is basically throughout the year. So if you apply in this September, you're going to get in September 2024. So it's a very tiring process because you have to wait so long. So you don't have to do much, but the waiting part is really your real test. um, and because a whole year passes, before you even know that would you get selected or not. So I would say that take it chunk by chunk. So first do your scholarship applications, then do your personal statements, then eventually do your letter of recommendations, and stay organized that way. I'll just share this example how I did it. So I had my mentor help me actually with this. He made these two folders on my um, Google Drive. So in one, I stored all the application documents. So these are divided, categorized in terms of different scholarships. So this is my INLAC scholarship essays, this is my Commonwealth scholarship essays, these are all of my university SOPs. So all of the universities that I applied to, what I did was I wrote one generic SOP, and then sort of edited it to fit different universities. So these are all my SOPs, my CVs and resume, my checklists. So this is just an example, and I'm not the best at it, but maybe you could start with this, because it actually really helps. Yeah, these are all the letter of references that I had. These, yep. So it's a good idea to keep everything in one place, and just to be very, very organized, and then you'll also feel good about your applications, because when you have things in these um, uh, organized categories, it's much easier to navigate through them. So yeah, so one of the examples that I wanted to give was your uh, this is one of the most sought after scholarships, the streaming scholarship. It's provided by the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office of the British government. So yeah, so it is all of the courses that are in all of the universities in the UK are eligible for this particular scholarship. So which is why it is so popular, and about 30 to 40 Indian students get it every year, and about 800 people get it worldwide. Um, and these are the four popular essays that the scholarship asks you to write. So one of the essays is on leadership and influence, the other is on networking, the third is on your choice of courses, and the fourth is in your post-study career plan. So one thing I wanted to ask the organizers, should I get into the details of each of these, because I'm not sure how much time we have and how long can we hold everybody's attention.
Vada, you can go ahead and tell about the scholarships, because I feel like that will be very helpful to those who are serious for applying. And we have time, alhamdulillah.
Okay then. So yeah, so let's talk about the first essay. The first essay is your leadership and influence essay, and this is what the question looks like. Let me just go to my. This is a sample essay of the internet. So this is the question that they're asking you. That Evening is looking for individuals who will be future leaders or influencers in their home countries. Explain how you made this requirement using clear examples of your own leadership and influencing skills. So very carefully read the answer. What is it asking you for? It's asking you for your previous experience, previous leadership experience, and it's asking for your previous influencing skills. And it's asking you, how are you going to meet this requirement of being some sort of a leader. So now leader doesn't mean you have to have a red flag in your hand and you have had to carry marches or uh, win a war or invade a country. But whatever leadership experience you have, for example, leading a team of some people, or maybe in your office you were given a project where you had to sort of lead a team of people into doing something, and you did it nicely, you ended up achieving your goals. Or for example, if you started a campaign, or if you started an organization, in any capacity, have you ever shown leadership experience, you have to write it here, and you have to write how do you influence people. So for example, this person has written about uh, I think one of the good ideas in this essays, I was told, is to actually explain what you think of leadership. So, for example, in my essay, and this is just an example, you don't have to copy it, you don't have to use the same example. In fact, come up with an original idea, because mine was also not very original, I'd say, because I think I have heard it somewhere. Uh, Yes. So when I explain leadership, I sort of explain it in a way that leadership is not really about just leading from the front, but also leading from the back, in the sense that being in the quiet area of the crowd and still being able to influence the crowd in a way without posing as a leader. So so yeah, and that's what I wrote, that I thought about leadership. You might have another interesting definition of how you look at leadership and how you look at influencing, and you can explain that in this essay. And how do you meet your own definition is something that you have to write in this essay. So where have you led and where have you influenced, you have to give that example. So all of these essays have a word limit of 500 words, so in 500 words you write this. Coming to your second essay, it's about networking. So how do you create networks, and how do you use those networks in your basically profession, and how do you maintain those networks? So you have to focus on the words. So maintaining is different from creating, of course. So once you've created your networks, how do you maintain it? How do you not lose that network, and how does the network help you in your professional capacity as well. This is something that you have to write in this essay. um, so for example, for you, maybe an after conference social networking, over drinks or over food might have helped you get a job, which is the case for some people, or might have helped you get into touch with somebody that you eventually ended up co-authoring a research paper with. So that's a relationship that you build there, right there, and that's a relationship that you use in your professional or academic capacity. So that's just an example, but come up with your own examples, and yeah, so that's your networking essay. The third essay is your studying in the UK essay, which basically means that also called the choice of courses essay. So in Shivni, you can only apply to 3 courses by in order of preference. So if you get into the first college of your preference, you can't really change it to your second college of preference. So you have to be very careful about what preferences you give to Shivning when you're applying, and you can apply to 3 courses through Shiming. Whereas for Commonwealth Shared Scholarship, the one that I applied to, you can apply to a lot of courses. I'll come to that. But yeah, for Shiming, these are 3, and these can be any 3 courses throughout any university in the UK. Uh, it can be any subject. Um, and you have to tell in this essay why did you choose that particular course, and what is it about that course that was of interest to you, or why do you want to study that course. So a good rule of thumb is to mention something about the modules or the professors. I think that really works, because it shows that you have actually researched your course really well. So you could say that, um, let's say for somebody applying to, is Michael J. Sandel teaching at KCL, I think. So for example, let's say he is, so you would say that I've seen Michael Sandel on YouTube, and I have really you know I've been interested in this or that he said, and I think it would be great if I could take one of his courses. So that's just an example, but or you could mention a specific module. For example, this particular module is of interest to me because I did this before, so I related to this, and I want to do this in the future. So you just have to kind of explain how that particular course is going to be of help to you. And the fourth essay is your career plan, in which basically you have to tell your immediate plans upon returning home and your long-term career goals. So you can look at it as your 5-year immediate as well as 5-year career goals. And of course, we all lie about this because none of us know what's going to happen next. But you just try to give a broad idea of what you think you might end up doing once you finish your degree, because of course that might change over time. But what is it that you currently think that you want to do, and how is this particular degree going to help you to do that? So that's what this essay is about. Is there any question about the evening essays that anybody would like to ask? Any idea about the bar practice course to become a barrister in the UK? Yes. So you have to take one of the pathways, either to become a solicitor or a barrister in the UK, and you don't just get that with your degree. For that, you have to do another qualifying course, and then you have to do a certain number of years of pupillage to become a barrister, and then you have to be able to be called to the bar, as they say, to become a barrister. So it's a long process. I suggest that you read about it and see if you would want to take that pathway in the future. But the courses, the LLM courses, the BCL in Oxford and the LLM courses elsewhere, they are not qualifying courses for either the solicitor pathway or the barrister pathway. But yeah, so you have to take another course for it. These are practice based course, whereas the LLM courses are mostly academic. Did you consult any counselors? I had a lot of people help me actually, who were seniors, who had previously been to the UK, who had previously studied here, even friends who were just a year older to me. Their experiences were also very relatable. So yeah, I did get a lot of help, and I would suggest that you also get in touch. And so sometimes it was in fact with people who I hadn't even talked to before. So you just have to take that chance and send that one LinkedIn message to the person who you think might be able to help you. And sometimes they will reply, sometimes they won't, which is disappointing, but it's fine. You can carry on and ask other people, and you will find help. Um, what if someone has no leadership and networking experience? I don't think that's ever the case. I mean, even if it's a very small leadership or networking experience, I mean, man's a social animal. I don't think that you can actually survive without networking. It's just that you might not have to look at networking in a very strict professional um definition, in the way that the scholarship application has described. But I'm sure that you can twist it around to show that you have networking experience, because I'm sure that everybody has that. The same goes for leadership. I think everybody has, if nothing, at least you know had at one point in their life a bunch of people that they influenced into doing something. So yeah, I just have to actually leverage on your existing circumstances or story. So sometimes you might even have to exaggerate your experiences. That's it. So this is a list of some scholarships that you can keep an eye out for. I have only mentioned UK scholarships, but there are scholarships throughout the world. There's thousands and thousands of opportunities, and if you apply, if not this year, at least the next year, you will get one if you diligently apply. So it's not impossible. It's actually not that difficult as well. So you just have to have patience, you have to work hard, and you will get funding for your masters. So some of these are fully funded, whereas these ones are partially funded, and some are even loan based. So Aga Khan is a loan that you have to return once your degree is over. um, yeah, so I think maybe take a screenshot of this, or I don't know if this will be uploaded. If this will be uploaded, you'll have it anyway. So yeah, that's it from me. If there's any questions, please feel free to ask. I think let's just open the
Yeah.
house for discussion.
Thank you so much, Varda. That was, alhamdulillah, very, very informative and, major important, like, most frequently asked doubts that, applicants usually have. Alhamdulillah, you've covered that, alhamdulillah. So now we'll have the interactive part of our session today, inshallah. So if you'd like to ask Varda something directly, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and ask.
Hi, Vardha.
I think
For
everybody has
the
already asked all the questions.
hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're audible. Go ahead.
Yeah, I
Yes,
had a
yes.
question for you. For the Commonwealth scholarship, I was looking at the like requirements. There is some sort of sponsorship required from the government or some agency. So, like, what is the process of getting that sponsorship?
Right, great question. So this is what I did miss out on. Commonwealth scholarships are of two types, like I've elucidated here. It's Commonwealth Masters and Commonwealth Shared. So the scholarship that I have is called Commonwealth Shared because it is shared between the university and Commonwealth Scholarship Commission, the UK government body. So what happens is half of the money is given by the Scholarship Commission, whereas half of the money is given by the university. And the process of application is fairly easy because you just have to apply to the scholarship and you have to apply to the university twice. That's it. Yeah, you get in and that's it. But for Commonwealth Masters, it's a little bit complicated because how it works is that there are nominating agencies for every country. In India, I think it's also a government body that is a nominating agency. And you apply to the nominating agency instead of the university or the scholarship commission. And the process is all written on the Commonwealth Scholarship website. Um, yeah, you just have to the application process is kind of different, but and a little bit tiny bit more complicated. um, yeah, and the Commonwealth scholarship opens for a longer duration than Commonwealth shared scholarship, which opens for I think only 15 days. So you do have a lot of time to apply and sort out your application. um, yeah, so that's the only difference. I think you have to apply to a nominating agency, which is an Indian government body in our case. So you have to write to them. I think you have to write an email to them.
Thanks.
For scholarships before or after securing admission. Both the process have to go on simultaneously because um, uh, admission deadlines, they are open much later than scholarships. So scholarship deadlines tend to be tend to end earlier than university deadlines. So you just have to uh, sort of keep an eye out for everything. Um, your school deadlines as well as your scholarship deadlines. Sometimes you have to do both of them together. Sometimes you have to do one before the other, depending on what scholarship you are applying to. So the application is currently open for Commonwealth Masters as well. The application is currently open. So apply for the scholarship first, and in the meanwhile, the institution that you have applied to with you, so that once you're done with the application, you can immediately go to the university part. So as soon as you do it, I mean, the sooner you do it, the better. For colleges like Oxford and Cambridge, the application for university programs also tend to end much earlier than other universities. So I think it ends in some courses in December and some in January next year. So if you're trying to apply for that, I think you should be much quicker. Um, One more thing, a shared that has opened with me on the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship website. I show you how it looks like, and the courses you can apply to. So for Commonwealth Masters, you can apply to any course that you want to, but Commonwealth Shared, there are certain courses that fall into these categories. That are eligible. So yeah, so here, um, so what are the eligible courses? Open that, and you see these courses. So these are the categories. Okay. So for example, my course was in English and global peace and governance. So yeah, so these are courses that are eligible for this year. So that's my course. But there's so for example, for medicine students, there's this category. So all those things are going about public health. One of my seniors who has done her bachelor's in JNMC and masters, I think, in Maulana Azad is doing one of these courses in, I don't know, public health. So yeah, so these are the different categories, and you can apply to as many courses as you want to. So that's the nice part. So even if you want to apply to 20 courses, let's say, just to secure your chances, you can. And a lot of students do actually do that. They apply to tens of courses just to secure their chances of admission. So feel free to do that if you have the time and the effort you want to put. go ahead. Is there anything else? If you want to practice litigation in the future, what would be your suggestion to link it with any of the developmental themes? Could you clarify the themes in the scholarship? Because yeah, you can relate it in a way. I'll have to think about it, how to relate litigation to development. But you can, I'm sure you can. I just want to be sure that you're speaking about the developmental themes present in Commonwealth Scholarship website. All right. So, for example, let's say you want to practice litigation in a specific area. Let's say you want to take up human rights cases. I think you can link that to developmental themes in the sense that once, obviously human rights are secured, the next thing is people's right to development that needs to be secured. I think that would be one way to link it, but I'm sure there are others as well. Do you have any questions? Should we move on? I think let's just, Firasha, let's end the meeting because I think I've already answered pretty much everything here. Yep.
Okay. Does anyone have any more clarifications? Any more queries from anyone?
Oh yeah, I just want to say that I am trying to provide a mentorship to Muslim female.
Hmm.
So free to number and add you to the group. So what I'm intending to do is I'm intending to do group mentorship where I don't have to um, help you one on one, but at least I can share, generic information to
Yes.
you all at once. At least that's a minimum that I want to do. But yes, I'll also be open to you asking me questions about your own specific application, or if you want me to read your essays, or if you want me to get somebody else to read your essays. Because now that I am here, I do have people who are, different scholars from different universities, and I might find somebody who is from your subject. For example, a girl messaged me about museum studies and conservation. So I do have somebody who's in my cohort who's also studying museum studies. So I'm thinking of connecting her with him so that and they can be of help. So yeah, that's something that I can do for. So
Yeah.
feel free
Yeah.
to get in touch and yeah.
Varda, could you please share? Will it be possible for you to share the link of the M Space group? A lot of people are asking for the link. Is it like
Yes,
an
for
open
sure.
open group?
Just a second. Just give
Okay.
me a moment. I'll. It's not but it's usually so it's not a problem.
Okay.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum
And
salam.
the link in
I am a student of law and I'm doing my
now.
5-year BLLB course. Right now I'm in my fourth year. I would like to ask whether since when should I start applying for all this, because it's a long and hasty process altogether. So what do you suggest me? In my last year, should I start doing this?
People are in their final years currently, but they're still there. They have not finished their final semesters. So you need to apply when you have finished your final semester and you have got your result for your final semester. That's when you can apply. That's when you will be eligible to apply. There's one more question that nobody asked, but I'm thinking of answering that because that's one question that I had, and that it's kind of was stopping me from applying to Shivning. Was that Shivning asks for 2 years of work experience, and everybody, and actually, no, I was actually very confused about how to get that work experience because I had just passed my bachelor's. So I just wanted to remind you all that that the work experience is basically any experience of work that you have, even during your degree. So it can be your internships, it can be your volunteer work, it can be whatever. If you have been part of any organization, that also counts as your work experience. So don't let that stop you from applying as well. Just because people immediately see 2 years of work experience. I've just passed my bachelor's. I'm not going to have it. Let's move on and let's look at other things. So yeah, and don't do that and apply. Uruj, I hope I answered your questions. You can only apply when you have your final semester mark sheet.
Sure, thank you.
The link to the MSpace group has just been shared in the chat.
Yes.
You can copy paste the message.
Okay. Great. That's what I was looking for. So yeah, so there are subcategories in the MSpace group, but if you want to apply abroad, feel free to join the higher education one because that's where we share scholarships and other opportunities. Yeah. All right, then. Thank you everyone for joining. I'll take your leave now, and feel free to keep in touch. It'll be nice to keep in touch with.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so
all,
much, Varda, for giving us
thank
your valuable time. Alhamdulillah, it was a very informative session. Yes, really, Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much. And you, mashallah, you explained everything with so much clarity and precision. Like Alhamdulillah, we have like those of us who are wanting to apply now. We have like a very good roadmap in front of us. And not to worry, everyone. Inshallah, the recording will be available very soon on our YouTube channel. So you don't have to worry about the screenshots or if you missed any part. It will be up, inshallah. Okay, if you, I request everyone to in the chat box we've put up links of not just the MSpace group but also of Muslim Women Study Circle. If you'd like to join our WhatsApp groups, how you can keep in touch with us on our social medias, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. So it's all there in the chat box. You should be able to see it if you scroll up. And yeah, once again, very from the entire MWIC team, thank you so much, Varda. And we hope to have more such sessions with you, inshallah, in the future.
Thank you. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum